The mafia wreaks havoc on New York City, but the government vows to bring them down.
I think this is a perfect time to crush them.
Undercover agents put their lives on the line.
You had to be very willing to take risks.
The evidence mounts.
I'm gonna knock everybody out, absorb everybody.
And they discover the secret inner circle of mafia bosses who control nearly all underworld activity.
It was electrifying. They were working together.
The questions and answers. The story behind the mob on trial. Next, on the Final Report. New York City, 1980. The largest metropolis in the United States is overrun by an illegal organization known as La Cosa Nostra, Italian for our thing. It's most commonly known as the Mafia. The organization has influence nationwide, but 5 powerful crime families rule the city. And the bosses of these families call the shots. The suspected leaders: Gambino boss Big Paul Castellano, Genovese boss Anthony Fat Tony Salerno, Bonanno boss Philip Rusty Rastelli, Lucchese boss Anthony Tony Ducks Corallo, and Colombo boss Carmine the Snake Persico. Each boss sits at the top of a highly organized hierarchy of underbosses, captains, and low-level soldiers and associates. More than 1,100 men in New York City alone. The men on the bottom carry out the dirty work.
The soldiers were the ones who did the loan sharking, the robberies, the frauds. They brought the money in. But unlike a lot of other institutions, in the Mafia, the money flowed upward. Everybody had to kick up.
Some of that money comes from the mob's illegal influence over legitimate industries, such as trucking, garment, sanitation, and construction companies.
Mob families have always tried to operate in pretty much the same way. They'd move into whatever legitimate businesses they could as a way of giving themselves legitimate earnings, as well as earning money by shakedowns of legitimate businesses.
The mob's operations cast a climate of fear over New York. Murder, arson, and car bombs are some of their favorite methods of persuading reluctant citizens to play by the Mafia's rules.
If you defy them, you never know what's going to happen to you. They have no compunction about killing.
Law enforcement targets the mob's rackets like gambling, extortion, and loan sharking. But bringing down mobsters has been a challenge.
Organized crime investigation, by their very nature, are the most difficult because you're dealing with experienced criminals, career criminals. So that if some of them are surveillance conscious, they don't talk on the phone, they don't put their names or signatures on paper for paper trails.
For all their hard work, law enforcers only bring down the occasional boss, and defense attorneys are able to negotiate short prison stays. The mafiosi return to the streets, and the entire enterprise remains strong. 1980. New York FBI office. Special Agent James Kostler takes over as coordinating supervisor for the FBI's organized crime squad. He's determined to overhaul the way the Bureau fights the mob.
As luck would have it, it was at a time when organized crime was very important to the government. Ronald Reagan became president, and he made that one of his priorities.
20 miles away in White Plains, New York, Ronald Goldstock steps in as the new director for the State Organized Crime Task Force, or OCTF. For a decade, the task force has been pursuing its own mob investigation, but has never nailed a big case.
It was essentially a defunct organization, and what we tried to do was think of how you could deal with the problem of organized crime, not by indicting and convicting individual persons, but by taking out entire crews.
Kostler and Goldstock both come to the same realization about how they can take down the mafia by using a decade-old federal law known as RICO, or the Racketeering and Corrupt Organization Act. RICO allows law enforcement to go after groups of criminals. The key is to prove the existence of an enterprise connected to illegal activity. With RICO, prosecutors don't need to focus on a single day or crime. they can reach back to establish a pattern of offenses. Prosecutors can target top mobsters, who are usually insulated from the crime. Those who give orders, but rarely commit crimes themselves. RICO's designed to work with a wiretapping law called Title III, which allows recorded intelligence into federal court.
The intent of Congress was to make the RICO statute able to use the history of organized crime and tie it together with Title III and use those two tools in tandem. This was not something we had been doing a lot.
If RICO is the ideal weapon, why has law enforcement sat on it for 10 years? Few authorities fully comprehend the act, and no one wants to be the first to try it. The man who wrote the law, G. Robert Blakey, tells the final report the Department of Justice discouraged its use, out of fear they might lose a high-profile case.
What they were not going to do is treat any of their important cases as experiments with this new thing. They want a precedent for it. Nobody wanted to be first.
But now, someone is ready. At the FBI, James Kostler fights to reorganize the Bureau's entire mob strategy.
We would normally just look at the crimes that a group of people were committing, try to prosecute them for committing the crimes, and we never looked at the group as a whole.
Kostler creates 5 separate organized crime squads and orders each to investigate a corresponding mob family. Their target? The bosses. By nabbing those on top, they hope to dismantle each family's infrastructure.
We had a plan, and we were sticking to the plan. We were going to go after the hierarchy of the family.
Meanwhile, at the State Organized Crime Task Force, Ronald Goldstock starts his own investigation, focusing on the mob's hold over industries and labor unions. He knows the mob has a history of controlling corrupt union officials who skim employee funds and threaten worker strikes in exchange for payoffs.
RICO was not only a theory of prosecution, but a theory of investigation. We thought about not so much families, but industries, and thought about how you could stop the mob from continuing to operate.
The agencies jumpstart their investigations, hoping to bring down each family and boss individually. April 1982. The New York Times runs a series detailing mob influence over the city's billion-dollar-a-year construction industry. Because of the mob's stranglehold on concrete suppliers, costs are 70% higher in New York City than in much of the Northeast.
The big bosses in the New York crime families decided to create a cartel in which they would get the major concrete contractors together and give them this ultimatum: we're going to divvy up all the contracts. You won't have to compete anymore.
The mob then takes a 2% cut of every deal, so contractors raise their rates to cover the extortion. Chosen contractors who split kickbacks with the mafia bosses are known as the Concrete Club. Refusing to join has serious repercussions.
You had no choice but to join the association and abide by its rules, and failure to do so would cause economic harm, physical harm, even death.
Investigators see concrete as a way to make their case, but they still need hard evidence. They hope a surveillance and wiretapping campaign, where mobsters might implicate themselves on tape, is the key to bringing them down. October 14, 1982.
Thank you very much.
President Ronald Reagan declares the mafia's power is reeling out of control.
The existence of this nationwide criminal network and its willingness, and too often its success, in corrupting and gaining protection from those in high places is an affront to every law-abiding American.
To him, the reasons for the mob's success are clear.
Vows of secrecy and loyalty, insulation of its leaders from direct criminal involvement, bribery and corruption of law enforcement and public officials.
He orders the FBI to forge close ties with New York State authorities. Both agencies will launch an extensive surveillance campaign to infiltrate this secret world.
What we were doing was so important and so exciting that we wanted to accomplish this.
The secrets they hear will open the door to the mob underworld.
Now when you got a guy that steps out of line and this and that, now you got the web. A strong union makes money for everybody, including the wise guys.
That, along with more questions and answers, when the final report continues. (1982), New York City. Nearly all 7 million residents here indirectly pay tribute to the city's 5 ruling mafia families.
The garment industry, the waterfront, the Fulton Fish Market, garbage collection, every aspect of construction. There was no aspect of any big industry, critical industries in New York, that the mob didn't get a share.
They controlled, all kinds of legitimate businesses that, increased the cost of those businesses, goods, and services to John Q. Public.
FBI and state task force agents want to end the mob stranglehold. They hope to gather evidence of a criminal enterprise through widespread wiretapping. But breaking through to the tightly guarded mob underworld will be dangerous.
One of the greatest assets that the mafia has and had and still has is that they'll kill you. They'll break your leg. They'll go after your family members.
Agents start investigating mafia hangouts, the best locations for capturing crucial information. December 1982. Brooklyn, New York. FBI agents stake out Casa Storta restaurant, the suspected meeting place for the Colombo crime family. Family boss Carmine Persico sits in prison, but agents suspect he still has some control in the rackets.
Carmine Persico was trying to maintain his connection with the crime family, his underlings, and run the crime family the way he saw fit.
Joe Cantamessa supervises the FBI's Technical Operations Squad. His goal? To learn the ins and outs of the restaurant before planting a critical wiretap.
A little bit in advance, we have the opportunity to conduct a little surveillance, physical surveillance of the subjects and the location.
He stakes out the area, looking for ways to infiltrate the Colombo family hangout.
Is there a window that I could leave unlocked? Can I see where the keys are kept, or anything that might help the actual surreptitious entry go smoother or quicker?
While dining there, Cantamessa observes that the Colombos use one table for official mob business. He'll need to gain access to the crawl space overhead to make the bug effective. It's a dangerous mission. If any Colombo members catch him in the act, he could be murdered. 3 a.m. On a December night, Cantamessa and other agents pick a lock on the restaurant's metal gate to gain entry. They access a cramped crawl space and plant a microphone, but their work isn't done. The agents realize they need to risk re-entering the next night to attach the transmitter.
Unless you get to look in the details and the nooks and crannies, see the crawl space, sometimes you just can't do it all in one night.
They return to the restaurant and risk getting caught on the mob's home turf. But after an hour, the agents escape unnoticed. The job's a success. Agents become particularly interested when they overhear the conversations of a key mob soldier named Ralph Scopo. They run a background check on Scopo and find that he's also president of the New York Concrete District Workers Council. This is a key find. Infiltration of labor unions is the cornerstone of the mob's economic success.
Along with being a Colombo soldier, it gave him sway over contractors who were involved in major construction projects in Manhattan.
FBI agents realize they need more information and plant bugs in Scopo's office and car. They discover Scopo uses his position to threaten worker strikes. The concrete suppliers, afraid of lost business and profits, pay off the Colombos to keep the union off the picket lines. Those companies, who work in both the public and private sectors, make up the so-called Concrete Club. Investigators believe that exposing this extortion racket could bring down the entire family, including boss Carmine Persico.
Scopo was the guy who made sure that each of the crime families got their cut. And there was one conversation where a Colombo soldier was talking to him about a big major construction project that he was looking to get involved in, and Scopo made sure to tell him that, no, wait a minute, it's $10 million. The commission has to get a piece of it.
This isn't the first time authorities have heard this term, but they still wonder, what is the commission? Investigators believe it's the mob's ultimate ruling body. Over the years, earlier wiretaps have vaguely mentioned the commission, but investigators know little to nothing about it, though they believe the 5 New York bosses sit on the board. Agents believe that these men have the final word on mob policy and business, but have no hard evidence confirming its existence. Further conversations confirm that Scopo doesn't just work for the Colombos. He collects payoffs for all 5 families.
The bosses, also being greedy as they were, would join together with the other bosses in a scheme that the bosses would all participate in equally.
These conversations are exactly what investigators were hoping for. Solid proof of a major criminal enterprise that involves every New York family. If authorities can link the families together, they'd have the chance to take them all down at once with the RICO Act. A loose-lipped mobster will help them build their case.
We're going to knock everybody out. We're going to knock everybody out, absorb everybody. So whoever stays in there, we'll allow us to stay in there.
That, along with more questions and answers, when the final report continues. March 1983. New York City. Federal and state authorities have launched a widespread wiretapping campaign against the New York Mafia. While investigators pore over Colombo family conversations, the state task force targets suspected Lucchese boss Tony Dux Corallo. Investigators suspect Corallo controls garbage collection on Long Island, and that he conducts his business from the backseat of his driver's black Jaguar XJ6.
We recognized that if we had a bug in the car, we could overhear the conversations, and we would not only have a better understanding of the industry, but we'd have the evidence to do what we wanted to do.
The task force knows it will be a difficult job. Radio interference and limited transmission ranges have made previous car bugs useless. This man, Tony Angiulo, who still works undercover for the task force, is determined to make this bugging successful.
We went to a car dealership, provided the same car, and we got to look at it and find out how we were going to approach this.
Angiulo and other agents practice installing wiretaps in an exact copy of the Jaguar Corallo uses. Once inside, they determine they'll need 5 uninterrupted minutes to finish the job. March 23rd. As Corallo's driver attends a dinner dance on Long Island, his Jaguar sits empty in the parking lot.
It was a sit-down dinner, so it was going to be like at least 3 hours long, so we figured that was our best shot.
3 agents descend on the car. Their moves are quick and precise.
You had to take a portion of the car apart, install the device, and then put it back together without it looking like it was taken apart.
Using strips of electrical tape, they attach a microphone and a transmitter to the inside of the dashboard. Then they connect the 2 devices to the car's battery, which will provide them with power. The job takes less than 10 minutes, and the agents disperse.
There were a lot of challenges that we had to meet, and we met them. It was a big accomplishment.
But there's an immediate problem: recording a constantly moving wiretap. To do it, tailing agents use a receptor to receive signals from the Jag, then transmit them to a recording van a mile away. Their hard work pays off. Sal Avellino, the inquisitive driver for Tony Corallo, leads his boss into some incriminating conversations.
Within days, we had Corallo saying that he was the boss of the Lucchese crime family, something that had not been gotten before.
Corallo's admission that he's the boss implicates him in the organization and helps investigators prove their RICO case. Agents continue to trail Avellino. They overhear a conversation with another soldier about Lucchese family plans to control city garbage collection by wiping out their competition.
We're going to knock everybody out. We're going to knock everybody out, absorb everybody. So whoever stays in there, they will allow us to stay in there. Got big plans.
The state task force pores over hours of tape.
It was exciting because every day he would expose more of what they were up to, and you'd find out all kinds of details about how they thought.
But constantly trailing the men and not getting caught proves difficult.
You had to be in reasonable proximity to the vehicle to listen to it. Now the problem was that Corallo and Avellino were very cautious. Corallo himself would adjust the rear view mirror so that he could watch behind them. They were very conscious of tails.
The agents keep their distance and overhear Sal Avellino talking about growing resentment against suspected Gambino boss Paul Castellano. Fellow mobsters believe Castellano has become too greedy and is taking a bigger cut of the profits than he deserves.
From the beginning. And man, never said a word. It doesn't even say thank you. Yeah, forget thank you. Thank you, I don't expect it. I'm not expecting it. He doesn't even say, geez, you know, this is really getting, you know, I mean, it went from 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000.
This implicates Castellano in a mob racket, but authorities still need the Gambinos on tape. The FBI is on the job, staking out Castellano's stately Staten Island home. March 1983. Staten Island, New York. Big Paul, nickname for his imposing 6'2" frame, took over as boss in the 1970s. He projects the image of a sophisticated Wall Street banker, but manages more than 400 foot soldiers who carry out his dirty work. That way, Castellano doesn't have to commit the crimes himself, but investigators hope he'll discuss his role in the rackets on tape. The FBI turns once again to Joe Cantamessa, the agent who successfully bugged the Colombo hangout in Brooklyn.
Intensive surveillance breaks into several pieces. One, of course, is the location to see who comes and goes. Second is the subjects, or those that have access to the location, who has the keys, who has alarm codes.
Castellano's home has many obstacles, an extensive alarm and video surveillance system, and a constant flow of associates coming and going.
There was rarely, if ever, an instance that the house was not occupied by someone.
Cantamessa tells the final report he and another agent pose as cable television repairmen to access Castellano's home. It's a dangerous operation. Blowing their cover could result in death.
You had to be very daring and very willing to take risks, calculated risks.
The other agent keeps watch outside, while Cantamessa figures out where to install the bugs and transmission lines. This transmitter will allow agents to eavesdrop from a listening post in a nearby apartment. Cantamessa knows from tipsters that Castellano conducts business at a large table near the kitchen and decides this is the perfect place for the bug. The agent solicits the help of a Gambino soldier to make the job less suspicious.
When I'm with the subject, they want to watch, they get to help. That may be hold a wire, hold a flashlight, can you hold a screwdriver?
He successfully plants the microphone and leaves the house undiscovered.
The microphone install went as planned and worked perfectly until the lightning thunderstorm that evening.
The storm halts transmissions to the listening post. Cantamessa will have to re-enter the home. Luckily, Castellano and his bodyguards buy the repair act. A few hours later, Big Paul's voice comes booming across the transmissions.
From those conversations on that bug, the FBI managed to prove that Paul Castellano was the head of the Gambino crime family and that there was some connection between all crime families.
The connection that all 5 families are in on the construction racket, the so-called Concrete Club.
It was electrifying. You came to realize very, very quickly that the families were not distinct and apart. They were working together.
Now that investigators know the mob operates as one organization, run by a commission of bosses, they can do something they never thought possible. Use RICO to prosecute all the families together.
The significance hadn't really become clear until after the job was actually performed.
Investigators also learned that there's a rift in the Gambino family. And a captain named John Gotti isn't happy with Castellano's increasingly greedy ways.
John Gotti and his crew were key members of the, blue-collar wing of the Gambino crime family and were known to be at odds with Paul Castellano.
Authorities monitor both factions of the family and hope to destroy the Gambino infrastructure before members do it themselves. May 1983. Investigators monitor the Gambinos, but still haven't connected all the dots about the commission. They continue listening in on the taps when former boss Joseph Bonanno, now retired in Arizona, publishes his memoirs in a book called A Man of Honor. At 78 years old, the ailing mafia don wants the world to know mob kinship has been replaced with extreme greed.
He was no longer a big shot. What he was trying to do, in a sense, was to justify his life.
Why is Bonanno's book significant for investigators? Bonanno includes an entire chapter explaining the commission. According to Bonanno, the commission was born in New York City in 1931. The mafia realized a committee of men, one from each major family, would prevent unnecessary infighting. The commission settles any territory or financial disputes between rival mobsters and protects the bosses by establishing that no one can kill a boss without the commission's approval.
Here is Joe Bonanno, one of the original heads of the 5 families, writing a book which reveals the existence of the commission and how it operated and why.
Wiretaps immediately go wild in response to Bonanno's book. The other bosses are furious Bonanno broke the mob's code of silence.
Paul Castellano was caught on tape saying, they're going to make us one big, tremendous conspiracy. How could he do this idiot?
August 1983, Ronald Goldstock, head of the New York Organized Crime Task Force, approaches U.S. Attorney Rudy Giuliani with a pitch. Bring the separate crime family investigations together into one federal court case. Prosecutors can use RICO to target the bosses. Even though the guys on top didn't commit the crimes, they're the key to the organization.
I laid out the theory that we had developed about the commission case, and he was very receptive.
The key to bringing down the mob is proving to a jury that a criminal enterprise exists. Everything from the wiretaps to Bonanno's book can be used as evidence. Former prosecutor Gil Childers tells the final report Giuliani zeroes in on Bonanno's memoir.
When Rudy read that, he said, my God, this guy is admitting to the entire structure of organized crime. We've got to be able to do something with this.
But prosecutors face a major setback when one of their key defendants meets a violent end on the streets of New York.
That night, I suddenly realized this is real.
That's next, when the final report continues. September 1983. FBI and state task force agents are in the midst of a widespread surveillance campaign against the New York mob. They've already bugged some members of the commission, like the bosses of the Lucchese, Gambino, and Colombo families, and are compiling some hard evidence, such as this conversation of a Lucchese capo and driver for family head Tony Dux Corallo, recounting a disagreement he had with the head of a local union.
We don't even got the privilege of working it.
Investigators' work isn't done. They have tape of bosses and underbosses, admitting they run rackets and families, but still need to crack another suspected member of the commission, Genovese boss Anthony Fat Tony Salerno. Despite his low-key profile, Salerno is one of the wealthiest mobsters. Based in Harlem, he controls a $10 million a year loan sharking racket. East Harlem, New York, December 1983. FBI agent Joe Cantamessa checks out the Palma Boys Social Club, Salerno's favorite hangout. He hopes to record meetings between Salerno and his top henchmen. Without the taps, prosecutors will have a difficult time linking the Genovese crew to the entire operation. The agent immediately spots a challenge, a huge metal grate that's blocking the entrance and guaranteed to make a lot of noise.
We had information from the surveillance activities that after this particular grate was unlocked, it was one of the noisiest roll-ups the surveillance team had ever heard before.
To solve the problem, Cantamessa has a diesel-powered garbage truck pull up outside the targeted location.
When we were ready to roll up the grate, you couldn't hear yourself think.
Agents identify Salerno's conference table. They enter the cellar below and drill into the floorboards to hook up the transmission line. Cantamessa finds himself crawling among rats to plant the bug.
It's not a comfortable way to be running wire and sticking your hands in places that you can't quite see.
Just before dawn, Cantamessa completes the job. Later that day, Salerno's deep voice booms across the wires.
They had Fat Tony Salerno talking about the commission on his tapes that were, picked up on the bug in the Palma Boys Social Club.
Agents now have bugs of every major crime family in New York, but they're still looking for proof that commission members gather to discuss the rackets. May 15th, 1984. FBI agents act on a hot tip that could be the key to their case. A meeting of the commission at a residence on Staten Island. Most commission meetings are so heavily guarded and in places authorities would never suspect that they have never been surveilled.
A soldier in each of the crime families would drive one of its leaders to a specific secure location. Essentially, it's designed to be in a location that the FBI and law enforcement would not suspect.
Agents stake out the residence from a van a few blocks away, hoping to get photographic evidence of the bosses together for the first time. One by one, the bosses file out of the house, each caught by FBI cameras. The cameras capture Paul Castellano, Fat Tony Salerno, Tony Dux Corallo, and several other mobsters.
And we have photographs of all the different bosses and their underbosses, or their number one capo, or somebody that's their aide going into the house.
The case against the bosses is so extensive, wiretaps that detail rackets and photographs of the bosses together, that the mobsters themselves suspect something is up, including Corallo's driver.
I have whispers that something might be coming down, and I want to be prepared for whatever is going to come. I want to know, how do I stand, what do I do, where do I go?
February 1985. With hard evidence in the form of photographs and wiretaps, U.S. Attorney Rudy Giuliani is ready to reveal a massive indictment.
There was a tremendous amount of energy. Everyone understood that this was going to be a complete groundbreaking case.
But before the official announcement, local news stations receive a tip about the plan. One station calls FBI Supervisor Jim Kostler for comment.
I said, we got a problem. You know, these guys will check themselves into hospitals, they'll be on the run, whatever it might be. We got to do this now.
A band of federal agents and cops race across New York City to make arrests. Within an hour, police arrest the biggest players: Gambino boss Big Paul Castellano, Lucchese boss Tony Dux Corallo, and Genovese boss Fat Tony Salerno. Carmine the Snake Persico is presently in federal custody on another charge naming him boss of the Colombo crime family. Bonanno boss Philip Rusty Rastelli is not indicted, but is also already in jail on other charges. Retired boss Joe Bonanno claims medical incapacity and refuses a personal plea from Rudy Giuliani to cooperate. February 26, 1985.
I would say this is a very major blow against the mafia in New York, and I think it helps throughout the United States because the New York...
Giuliani officially announces the 15-count indictment against the New York bosses and representatives from the 5 crime families. Prosecutors charged the 9 men participated in a nationwide commission that controlled mob activities, including drug trafficking, loan sharking, gambling, and labor racketeering. The indictment doesn't keep all the wealthy bosses off the street for long. December 18, 1985. Gambino boss Paul Castellano is free on a $2 million bond. Giuliani and the FBI believe their strongest case is against Castellano. He runs an extensive operation with more than 500 associates. But investigators know from key wiretaps that many of the family members are deeply dissatisfied with Castellano's leadership.
We'd heard about some secret meetings, and we knew something was up, but we didn't have any specific information about it.
5:45 p.m. Rush hour traffic fills the streets of Midtown Manhattan. Castellano's black sedan pulls up outside Sparks, a steakhouse on 46th Street. As Castellano opens his door, men in trench coats descend upon the car. 3 gunmen open fire on the boss, sending 6 bullets into his head and torso. The assassins shoot his underboss, Tommy Bellotti, 4 times. The gunmen escape into the thick crowd of pedestrians. Castellano's head rests on the door jamb of the car. His underboss's body lies in a pool of blood on the street. Both men are pronounced dead at the scene.
I was very much struck by the gravity of the case. That night, I suddenly realized this is real. These guys are out there killing each other and terrorizing people. It was very sobering.
Within hours, investigators target the man they believe has the most to gain from Castellano's death, Gambino Captain John Gotti. Agents hear from informants that Castellano wanted to disband Gotti and his crew after they were busted for drug trafficking.
Paul Castellano was furious at John Gotti and his crew. He blamed his crew for the problems he was facing.
Gotti's power grab works. Insiders report that Gotti became head of the family soon after Castellano's murder. What does Paul Castellano's death mean for the case against the commission? Prosecutors have to throw out several bugged conversations from his Staten Island home. With Big Paul gone, those wiretaps can't be used in court. The prosecution's lost hours of conversations that prove the Gambinos have a seat on the commission.
When suddenly that chair becomes empty, from the jury's perspective, it's a piece of the story that is now missing.
Despite the major setback, prosecutors elect to go ahead without the evidence on Castellano.
He was kind of the classic Hollywood image of what a mob boss is. It took some of the sex appeal, if you will, out of the case, but there was still an awful lot left.
While the prosecution is confident, they still face a case unlike any tried in history.
You're going to hear an answer today like you've never heard before.
The trial is next on The Final Report. September 8, 1986. Jury selection for the Mafia's commission trial begins at the Federal District Courthouse in Lower Manhattan. U.S. Attorney Rudy Giuliani has appointed 32-year-old Michael Chertoff as lead prosecutor. The young lawyer must convince a jury that these mob bosses sit on a dangerous board of directors known as the Commission, and that they direct the criminal enterprise known as the mob.
You're never sure what a jury's going to do, but we were very confident that we had a powerful case.
In his opening statement, Michael Chertoff argues the Commission is a corrupt enterprise dominated by a single principle: greed. The audio recordings are his centerpiece. Like this tape of a Lucchese captain discussing his family's control over the garbage collection union.
They made a deal, no other union would come into the garbage, because we have a Teamster local.
The key defendant is Colombo soldier Ralph Scopo, accused of accepting payoffs from concrete firms. Scopo laid out the racket on the wiretaps.
They had Ralph Scopo on tape talking about the fact that the commission was controlling construction projects in New York City. They really didn't need the testimony of the witnesses.
The recordings from the extensive 4-year investigation feature several of the accused. They're caught talking about the commission and its crimes.
The most compelling evidence was the tapes, because you heard their actual voices. It isn't some third party, it isn't some ex-con who's testifying to get a reduced sentence. It was there.
In all, the prosecution puts 85 witnesses on the stand and presents over 150 audio tapes. September 18, 1986.
Answer these charges. You're going to hear an answer today like you've never heard before.
Defense attorney Samuel Dawson, who's representing the underboss of the Lucchese's, tells jurors something that has never been said in open court. The mafia and the commission exist.
It was very surprising. No defense lawyer had ever before conceded that there really was a such thing as La Cosa Nostra.
Why does the defense admit the mafia exists? It's impossible to refute the hundreds of hours of taped evidence. But, they argue, being a member of the mob doesn't make someone a criminal.
My client was riding around in that car, and there wasn't one word that came out of his mouth that indicated any activity on his part of a criminal nature.
Defense attorneys depict the commission as an underground business circle. It doesn't authorize murder, but settles disputes to avoid conflict.
Defense lawyers were stuck in trying to figure out a strategy, trying to do something with these defendants.
November 19, 1986. After 5 days of deliberation, jurors deliver their verdict. Fat Tony Salerno, Tony Ducks Corallo, Carmine the Snake Persico, and 5 of their associates, guilty on all charges.
It was a complete victory and complete vindication of the whole theory that underlay lots of effort to prosecute and combat La Cosa Nostra.
The sentence that follows, 100 years without parole, the maximum in a RICO conviction.
They reached a verdict that is just and that sends the message from the community to these people that they cannot be above the law and that they will be brought to justice and they will be convicted.
Corallo, Persico, and Salerno are locked away for life.
That was a mind-blowing event that captured the attention of the community, that, hey, there is a way to get these guys off the streets forever.
In the final report, the commission case sets a precedent for law enforcement to use RICO across the country. The RICO statute becomes the preferred method for combating many types of organized crime, like urban gangs. While RICO affects New York's 5 families, it does not stop them. The FBI finds a new generation of bosses, replaces the imprisoned leaders. In 1988, authorities discover a major error in the commission investigation. Informants reveal lead defendant Anthony Salerno is not the boss of the Genovese family. He's been wrongfully identified. The real boss, Vincent the Chin Gigante, had been directing operations from behind bars.
We find out now how ignorant the FBI and law enforcement was about the mafia. They really only had scraped the surface.
It's still insufficient grounds to overturn Salerno's conviction. Fat Tony dies in prison in 1992. The death of Lucchese boss Anthony Corallo follows in 2000. Of the 3 big commission case defendants, only Colombo boss Carmine Persico remains alive. He allegedly runs the Colombo family from Butner Federal Correction Complex in North Carolina. Mob rules allow him to maintain his rank while incarcerated. The 5 families never completely relinquish their hold on New York's construction industry or its labor unions. On September 11, 2001, the World Trade Center attack turns into a mafia money pit. Mobsters are linked to companies that rake in $63 million for debris cleanup. While the Mafia continues to operate in major U.S. cities, the FBI says only New York and Chicago maintain some semblance of their original framework. Though there are new bosses in place, RICO convictions have all but crushed the Commission. The once almighty ruling body is still rumored to exist, but not likely to regain the same control they once had.
The overall clout of the Commission has certainly dissipated. Many of the crime families are in disarray. The bosses of all crime families have been convicted time and time again.
I think what it says is that it's not nighttime, but it's dusk. The sun hasn't set on the organized crime, but it's set.